Welcome to Norrath in Minecraft. Now, for those of you who don't know, Norrath is the world of EverQuest, and it's also going to be the basis for my long-term world that I'm going to be building in. Well, one of my worlds anyway, but this is the one I'm putting the most effort in on the terrain. But this world is going to be complete with cities and dungeons and roads and all sorts of good things. It will also be suitable for people to play in as a survival map or to use on a server. That said, I have been working on this map for a long time, on and off for probably about almost 2 years now. And this is the first map I've done in World Painter, which I've had to learn how to use the program, so that's why it's taken just so long to do. It's taken way longer than I thought it ever would when I started the project. But it's to the point where I can show it, and I'm almost ready to release the first version of a download as soon as I do a little bit more work on it. But today, what I want to show you is the basic terrain and give you a good overview of what this map is going to be. So here we can see the continent of Otis. Up in the north here, where my mouse cursor is where the high city of Aruden will be built. Here is the high plain beside it, and let's zoom in a little. And down here will be Toxulia Forest with the Wizard Spire location. We have a river here and a smaller river I've added. We're going to have waterfalls coming off of here and over here. Zooming in still further, we can see Kara Island here, home of the progenitor race of the Vashir. And here we have the Hole. Down here somewhere is the city of Payneal. The Hole is a giant crater that was formed in the War of the Erudites. So I've tried to capture that. It's all very blasted and charred and everything. In the center of the continent, we have the Stonebrunt mountain range. I've temporarily put snow on the peaks here, but they're going to look better in the final version. I haven't feathered it in yet. Moving over here to the east, we have the Vasty Deep Lake. Right here. A small little river for it to empty out. And down here, this is going to be mostly desert. This is what's called the Barren Coast. And going down here to the south, we have an archipelago of island chains. This is where Dulac and Gunthak were located in the game. It's more or less a nest of pirates down here, is what that's going to be. Moving across the ocean, we have Erud's Crossing here. And that takes us over here to the location of Qeynos, where it's going to be sitting. But from there, we have the Qeynos Hills over here, and Surefall Glade down here. And then from there, we move north up to the Jagged Pine Forest. And we continue to move north along the coast, seeing the mountains here. This is all going to be the frozen north, so it's not going to stay this nice green color. It's going to be very frozen by the time you see it in the game. Because these here are the lands of Everfrost. And up here is the barbarian city of Halas. And up here, these are just going to be frozen islands, and I'm going to have a polar ice cap up here. Moving along, we have the frigid plain over here. And moving east, we have some frozen islands up here. And we start entering the area over here of Lava Storm. This is going to have a lot of, obviously lava, but obsidian and charred terrain. And down here, underneath the high mountain here, this will be the entrance to the Dark Elf city of Neriak. And immediately below it is Nectalos Forest. This entire area here with the river flowing through it. Moving west a bit, we come to the Cathcart Forest. It swarms with undead at night. The lost souls of a battle fought there long ago. And moving across the river, we come to the Misty Thicket, the home of the hobbits. Or actually the halflings. But for all intents and purposes, they're hobbits. I have little hobbit holes I'm going to build here. You can kind of see them. And over here will be the city of Rivervale. And over here we have a bank and ditch dividing the Misty Thicket off from the area that the hobbits don't control. And immediately next to that down here, this is where Blackburrow is going to be. It'll be chock full of gnolls. I spent many an hour in Blackburrow. And moving south, we come to the vast flat plains of Karana. You can see the location of the wizard spires here. And in southern Karana, you can just barely make it out. We have Split Paw, or Infected Paw. Right here, you can see the entrance is in the shape of a gnoll paw. We've got the three things here, the claws and the footpad here. And immediately below that, we have the foothills here and the Wraith Mountains themselves. And Lake Wraithtir, or Rathatir, up here. And it flows out in a couple of areas. We're going to have a waterfall here, one way over here, and one over here. But here we have this little circle that denotes the location of the arena. And this is going to be part of the Firot down here. This is going to be a jungle area. Also across the mountains here. This is going to be the other half of the Firot. And this big square here will be the Pyramid of Khazak-Thul. We'll move back up the Greenblood River a ways. And we come here to the Deserts of Ro. We have North and South Road divided here a little. And here in the middle, we have everyone's favorite place, the Oasis of Mar. Stay away from the island. There are specters there, I hear. And we'll continue upriver a ways here, because there's something we missed. This is High Pass. You can just barely see it here. But trust me, it's down there. And High Pass and High Holds Keep is going to be up here. And just adjacent to it, this little area you can see here, this is Runny Eye, or the Gorge of King Zorb is in this area. And moving east, we come to East and West Common Lands. A vast grassy plain here in the central area of Antonica. And over here on the coast, this is where the city of Freeport will be built. All along this large area. And moving south along the coast here, we come to Inathul Swamp, and this will be the location of the troll city of Grob. And moving back into the Firot for a minute, I forgot to point out the location of Ogok. The city of the ogres will be built here. The depressions in the land, by the way, they mark out the exact map that's in the game of the city itself. So, when possible, I've tried to be authentic to the game. And if you take the boat and leave Freeport, you will go to the dwarven city of Caladim and the Butcher Block Mountains here. We're now getting into the terrain that's just got the first rough draft on it, so it's going to look a lot different by the time it's finished. But it does have the rough shape in place, so I can show you what I've got so far and point out where things are going to be built. Here is Dagnor's Cauldron. Kedge Keep is somewhere under this lake, I believe. And down here will be built the Estate of Unrest. And over here, along the mountain range here, the central spine of Fedor is called Rathnox Ridge. And this little hill here is where Castle Mistmore will be built in the Loping Plains area. And across the ridge we come to the Way Under Lake. And this large bit of terrain, which doesn't have a name and wasn't really used, but I think it's going to be sort of a desert and savanna area. But here we come up to the Steamfont mountain range, and across from that is one of my favorite areas in the game, probably my most favorite area, the Greater Fedark. You can see the wizard spires here. The Wood Elf city of Kelethan will be built here somewhere, probably among the trees. And over here is everyone's favorite place, Camp Crushbone, or Clan Crushbone. This is a city of orcs, for those of you that don't know. And going back west a little ways, we have a narrow pass and an entrance into the Lesser Fedark, which is going to be this area here. I believe this area here is also called the Hills of Shade. At least it is on an old map I have, so that's what I'm going with. And over here we have the High Elven city of Felwythe. Right here you can see both North and South Felwythe here. And if we zoom in a little bit more, you can see this is the entrance from the Greater Fedark. You have the moat on either side here. the central place where the Paladin Guild is. Then you come around the roadway and go through the shops here. And there will be some arches built here, and then there's going to be some docks area. This is going to be my own addition to Fellwythe that isn't actually in the game. And down here in South Fellwythe, we have the area where all the guilds will be. This is the entrance to the tunnel, and we'll have a little bridge here and a structure sitting here. But moving on south, we come to the Elzerian Lake, I believe is how you say that. And the southern range of the Steamfont Mountains. This is the Dominion of the Gnomes. And this large extinct volcano here is where the gnomish city of Akanon will be constructed. And further down this way is the Dragonscale Hills. But we now leave the shores of Fedor and go south to the Ixar continent of Kunark. And immediately here we hit the Field of Bone. And Kern's Tower will be built somewhere along here. And moving inland, we have the city of Kabilis here. It's laid out roughly like Kabilis actually is laid out. You can see the water here. You can see the water here that marks out the canals. And in the middle of the continent is, of course, the Lake of Ill Omen. This is the largest freshwater lake in the world. And, of course, somewhere down here is the sunken city of Vexar. And the river from that empties out into the Swamp of No Hope. It's a very old swamp. You can see there's old river channels everywhere here where the river has flowed and changed course many, many times. And it continues its course down into the area of Feronave down here. This is where the elven city of Feronave will be constructed on this island offshore here. With a little river delta here. It's currently dry, but it'll be full of water next time you see it. And then we move over here to the mountain range called Trekanon's Teeth, which bounds the Emerald Jungle down here is this large area. And here are the Wizard Spire location for Kunark. And moving north from here, we have this little area that isn't actually in the game, but it's on the maps. It was labeled the Lake of Dismay. I'm not actually sure why it dismays people, but it apparently does. And moving along the top of the continent here, we've got the Broken Teeth Island chain up here. Very large islands. The area here where Warstless Woods will be located. And of course, here is the over there with the giant gorge down in it here. And this spot here is where the Dark Elf Fortress will be located. And moving further to the west, we come to Skyfire. You can see the lava lake here, and this is the very active volcano. It'll be active by the time I'm finished with it. And this brings us to the Burning Woods, location of the Sarnak city of Chardok, which will be either here or over here or under these mountains somewhere. That's where the city will be. And continuing along the coast, we come to the Dreadlands, or at least part of the Dreadlands, where the giant Combine Wizard Spires will be located. Now, I do want to build Luckland at some point also, and when I do, I will probably put it in the end dimension. So this is where the location of the end portal will be in this map. Moving inland a little, we come to the Frontier Mountains. You can see the square here denoting the place where the giant fortress will be constructed. And somewhere over here in the large expanse of the Dreadlands, the Greater Dreadlands, will be where Karnor's Castle will be located, somewhere around in this area. So that pretty much covers Kunark, and from there we will take a boat across the ice-clad ocean, and we will come to the frozen continent of Velius. And on one of these islands here is where the Tower of Frozen Shadow will be constructed, which brings us to the eastern waste over here. This is currently all green, but it's going to be just covered with rock and snow is what the continent will be 100% consistent of. Well, almost 100%. There's one green area. And down here in the southern part of the eastern waste, this little square here is going to be where Sleeper's Tomb is going to be located. The place where the giant chromatic dragon Terraform still sleeps. At least he should still be asleep if your guild wasn't foolish enough to kill all the warders keeping him asleep. And moving north here, we come to the area where Kale Drakale will be located here. And just north from that will be the Rygor Orc Keep up here, which of course is nearby the Coldane city of Thurgeton, which will be somewhere down here beneath these frosty mountains. And you get there by way of the Great Divide, which is this little area here. And here we see one of the key features of Velius, one of the dragon scars, left by the dragon of Vishon as its mark on the continent. Down here, this goes all the way down to bedrock level, and this is where the Awakening Lands will be located, and this will be a lush green area. But continuing further south a little, we come to Cobalt Scar, which is roughly this region down here, which takes us over to the Western Wastes, which is this area here. And you can see the little pits and depressions here are places where dragons nest to lay their eggs at. And nearby that we have the other two scars, one of which has the Dragon Necropolis in this one, and I think Sky Shrine will be over here somewhere. And along the coast we have barren areas on the map, which I'm going to put sort of as a tundra area with some small forests in it. These areas weren't used on the map, so there's kind of things that I've just filled in myself. So to wrap things up today, here is the bird's eye view of the continent of Velius. Here is Kunark in all its varied glory, the mystical continent of Fedor, the massive continent of Antonica, and the erudite lands of Otis. And here in World Painter is the maximum magnification I can zoom out to, so you can see them all in relation to each other. So I hope you have enjoyed this overview of my terraforming project. As you can see, this is an absolutely massive map. It will be in excess of 3 to 4 gigabytes to download when it's done, I think. And I will be posting smaller update videos as I make progress, so you can follow along with me. Like I said, this is the first large World Painter map I've done, and it's taken so long it will very likely be the last. But this here is going to be my long-term permanent world that I build things in. And all the styles you see me build on this channel are going to be put into this map, as well as some things I haven't even built yet. There will be about a dozen major cities, several dozen custom dungeons to explore, and many other things that weren't in the game, but that I'm just going to add for my own enjoyment. Also, there will be a link below to an image of the map that I'm using as the basis for this project. So take a moment to familiarize yourself with it if you aren't already. I know some of you don't know anything about EverQuest, and some of you know entirely too much about EverQuest, but hopefully everyone will enjoy this world that I'm going to be building. So if you don't know what it is, don't worry, because we will be seeing a lot of this map on this channel over a period of probably, I don't know, years? And after I get the basic terrain out, probably every few months after that, as we make progress and build things in this world, I will release it as a download for you to explore along with me. But for those of you that want to do it yourself, there will also be a standalone blank world that I haven't put anything in that you can use for whatever you want to. So yeah, that concludes today's video, and I will see you next time.